Hello, my name is Tony, also known as one half of the Start Space podcast, and welcome to Start Space Gaming. This is it. This is what Eddie and I have been counting down to for the past 10 days. We started our own YouTube channel, and hopefully this will be something that'll be going for a long time. So before we jump into the main topic today, I really need to give a shout out to a few people. The first three being real life friends of mine, Mary, Sean, and Brad. All three of these people in some way, shape, or form have helped me personally get this whole process started, and I could not be more grateful for their help. On top of that, I'd really love to give even more of a shout out to Mary because she also created the logo that we're using for not just this segment, but a couple other segments, including Eddie's reviews and the other stuff that we're going to be doing later. So our lack of drawing ability and our ability to really create things that are visually pleasing, Mary really made up for that. She helped us a lot. Thank you so much, Mary. Mary and Sean both are content creators themselves, so I'm going to link their Twitch channels and their YouTube channels below. So you should definitely go check that out. Go give them some support. They're good people. The next group of people I really need to shout out are our Patreon donators. So for those of you that don't know, Patreon is a website where content creators can go and create a page and then have fans of their show go and support them by donating to them on a monthly basis or even just a one-time basis. But they also create perks. So if you donate a certain amount, different content creators will have different perks. And our thing has always been to shout out our Patreon donators on the show if you donate a certain amount or more. And we're going to continue that trend over here on YouTube. So with that said, we'd really like to give a huge shout out to Stacy Winters, John Weber, Steve Dillon, Michael Mendez, and Doug Childs. All of these people have been supporting us for quite a while now, and it's meant a lot to me and Eddie. It's been really huge for us to have people supporting us. We aren't the biggest production ever, but we definitely like what we do, and we do mostly what we do for the people. So having you guys support us really has meant a lot to us, and we hope that we're delivering with the amount that you're donating to us. We really do appreciate it. One of the perks that we're adding to the show is you can join the list of Patreon donators now, and if you donate $5 or more, you can end up on this list down here for when I do Tony Talk segments from now on. So if you're interested in helping us out, donate $5 a month and end up on our show like this, or even if you'd like to donate $1, $2, $3, any amount is very much appreciated by us, and any support is greatly appreciated. Go check out our Patreon, which I will leave a link to below as well. But I think that's pretty much it, so let's just move on to the main topic of the episode. So for those of you that don't know, Start Space Podcast has been dedicated to helping new gamers get into the hobby. So as the show continues to move forward, Eddie and I just give our perspective on what happens within the hobby, and we just have fun telling stories of our experiences, and we're kind of just learning as we go how to properly deal with situations and how to get more people into the hobby. That's the biggest thing. So the main topic for today is something that had come up in conversation a couple times, and I really felt like it was something that needed to be talked about at some point. So something that's been interesting from the very beginning is that our show's concept has been giving a perspective on the board gaming tabletop hobby from a new player's perspective. And so far it's been great. We've been doing a pretty good job, we think, and we think that we've been trying to do our best to help educate people on what we've been going through and the things that we've done right and the things that we've done wrong, good and bad experiences, so that people can kind of learn from our mistakes and then hopefully take our advice on, game reviews. And we talk about what games are really good for new people to play, what games do we think new players would like more, or more hardcore gamers would like heavier games and things of that type. So we talk about that on the show a lot. But one thing that always comes up as a question is, but Tony, you're not going to be a new gamer forever. So how are you going to keep the show fresh and exciting if you're not going to be a new gamer after several years of playing? Because the podcast has been around for almost 3 years now, which is crazy. And I actually have a story that goes on with that question. Eddie and I went to BGGCon 2015 in Dallas, Texas, and May of that year, I broke my leg, and I really wasn't sure if I was still going to go to BGGCon, even though we already had the tickets. And Eddie was like, you really need to go. We really want you to go. Please go. So I said, okay, I'll go. And it was fun. Like, we went up there, and the one thing that kind of stunk was that I had one thing that I really wanted to do, and that was I really wanted to meet Tom Vassell. And for those of you who don't know, Tom Vassell is the owner-operator of Dice Tower Network, and he brought in our podcasts under the umbrella of the Dice Tower, and he really just gave us a boost, and I've always wanted to kind of thank him and have a good conversation with him just to let him know who I am and everything like that. But with my broken leg in BGG Con, I knew that he was going to be there, and I was like, great, this is going to be an opportunity for me to meet him. It's going to be awesome. But the one thing I kind of thought was going to happen, but it, I was hoping it didn't, was that my leg was getting tired really fast walking around everywhere. And the first night we were there, I had to go upstairs early and kind of take a break and relax. So I went upstairs, and like 5 hours later, Eddie and his friends came back in, and I asked him how it went. And he said, oh, it went great. Tom ended up running into us about 10 minutes after you went upstairs. So I was just like, that just had to happen. Like, why couldn't he have run into him when I was there? That stinks. I didn't say that, but I was just like, okay, cool. So how did it go? And he said, oh, it was a really nice conversation. We just talked how the convention was going. We talked about what we've been doing on our shows. And then he asked me, so what are your plans for the future with the show? And Eddie said, well, I'm not really sure, because Tony's not really huge into board gaming, so we have to kind of move forward in a different direction than just being new gamers at some point. And Tom kind of looked at him and said, why is he doing this if he doesn't like board games? And that's such a funny question, and I knew somebody was going to ask it at some point, and it was hilarious that Tom was the first one to do it. I've thought about it before, and the reason I got into board gaming is because my brother and I have been best friends growing up forever. We've always really enjoyed each other's company, and we're both very family oriented. We love spending time with our family. Shout outs to our mom and dad. Shout outs to Eddie. We're very fortunate to have a good family, and we like spending time with them. So with Eddie and I growing up together, we always got into the same hobbies at the exact same time. Video games, card games, whatever. We were always into the same hobby at the same time. But at some point, Eddie got into board gaming, probably about 4 years ago. So he went in head first, but I didn't. It wasn't something that interested me. It wasn't something that I was in love with immediately. I liked the games. I didn't think they were horrible. Like, I thought they're good games. But it wasn't something that completely enticed me and made me say, yes, absolutely, I'm going in this direction. But he did. So it was the first time that one of us really went into a hobby where both of us weren't 100% invested in it. And it was kind of awkward for a while, because we're used to spending a lot of time with each other hanging out, and this was the first time that we didn't do that. So a little while later, Eddie kind of was going through some stuff, and he was having a hard time. And I was just kind of sitting there, and I hate seeing him upset about anything. So I just kind of looked at him and said, let's just do something. Let's do something. And for those of you that don't know, Eddie and I used to be musicians. We played in a band together, and it was a lot of fun. We always like to do things where we kind of create. It's always been like the thing that we've had a lot of fun with together doing. And for a long time, we were creating music together, but we had recently stopped with our band. And I said, well, let's just do something. Let's do something fun. And that's not like an obligation. Let's just do it because we want to have fun with it. And he said, well, I did have this idea for a podcast, and it's where I'm the fanatical gamer and you're the casual gamer, and we do game reviews and we talk about being new to the hobby. And I said, well, that sounds cool, but like nobody else is doing that. And he said, no, not really. Most of the people doing reviews in the hobby are people that have been in the hobby for a long time. They're people that have been in here for years and years and years. And they don't really see the point in reviewing stuff for beginners or older games. So that's a group of people I really think would really enjoy our show, or new people get into the hobby. And because Eddie said, because I'm new to the hobby, or I was, and I had really no one to look at, or unless the videos were several years old or something like that, but there was nobody now really trying to give help to newer gamers. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. So that's how the show started, was that we were wanting to help new gamers get into the hobby by just giving them our perspective of us being new gamers and talking about games that, even if they were older games, we were giving game reviews of games that were new to us, and good intro games like Settlers Catan, Ticket to Ride, Lords of Waterdeep, stuff like that. We would review games like that and talk about the pros and cons of them and everything like that. So that's what the show has been for a long time. And of course, I thought, well, we're not going to be new gamers forever. So what is it that we can still be? And it's exactly what Eddie said at the beginning, which is he's the hardcore gamer and I'm the casual gamer. And just to clarify, I'm much more of a video gamer. I play video games all the time, and I still enjoy doing it. But one thing that I have noticed for a while now is that the amount of quality video games coming out today is much lower than the amount of quality board games coming out today. There are so many very good board games when you just look at it and you play it and it's like, wow, that was such a great experience. I've experienced that way more with board gaming and playing with Eddie than I have with playing video games with Eddie or with whoever else. And that speaks a lot about the hobby. That's why I think it's really interesting to see that something that is considered an old hobby and an out-of-fashion hobby is actually, I feel like, doing better in creating new content that is, all in all, a better experience than a lot of the video games coming out today. So because of this is why I think I can actually keep doing Start Space stuff and really still stay invested in it and still have something interesting to say almost 3 years into the show. And it's because all the media people in the hobby that are doing game reviews, Tom Vassell, Ronnie Smith, all these people out there creating a bunch of content, these people love board gaming. They're super invested in it. It's what they do. It's what they love. So you're only getting the perspective when you're looking at those people from people that are 100% invested in it. And that is such a small group of people. I mean, that's a dedicated group of people and it's a good group of people, but it still feels more like it's not as new user friendly as it would be if you were talking to an everyman. And so I kind of want to be that medium. So if somebody comes up to me and asks me a question about a board game, of whether they think it's a good new player game or a more hardcore, harder to learn game, then I think I would be able to give a way better answer to that than, say, any other board game reviewer that's been either in the hobby for a long time or a gamer that has played a bunch of games and is super into it, is because I think that they don't necessarily understand where people are coming from my perspective, or the perspective of people that don't go out of their way and play board games all the time. So that's where I think my opinion matters. I think that I can really give insight into what you can do to get your friends or your family into board gaming. That's something we've done forever, actually, and we're just going to bring it here onto YouTube now, which is fantastic. We're going to talk about games that you think are going to get new people into the hobby. We're going to talk about new ways to get new people into the hobby, how to appeal to different crowds, what type of genres there are. We're also going to just straight up teach people stuff about the hobby for intro people. Like, if you're the one that wants to get into the hobby and you're really interested in getting into it and you want to just learn the basics or move forward and learn a little more and a little more, a little more, that's what we're going to do too. We're probably going to include a couple of segments that we've done on the podcast into video, and that'll come later. But we still want to be the first stop for people that want to learn about the hobby and don't want to be overwhelmed by the sheer amount of things to learn. Because the one thing that's crazy about board gaming is it's so massive. There's so much stuff to learn. There's so much stuff going on that people that just now are finding it will open up this whole world of stuff that they didn't know existed. And yes, there's a mass amount of content from other creators like the Dice Tower and Watch It Played. But how much of that is really extremely new user friendly? How much detail do they put into the smaller stuff? And that's where we want to come in, and that's where we want to help. I feel like we're going to be here for a long time, and as time goes on, maybe that's going to change too. We don't know. I can't tell the future, but this is just going to be something we're going to have fun with. We're going to do for a long time, and that's it. That's the end of the first Tony Talk for Start Space Gaming. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this. So again, if you'd like to support the show, go ahead and check out our Patreon. Donate a certain amount a month and you can get some perks on there. Do us a solid and give this video a like, a share, and a subscribe, because that's like a YouTube thing we're going to say now. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.